One of the more interesting routes in Kent is the attractive Medway Valley line between Strood and Paddock Wood. It's another of those lines that time forgot, oozing antique charm with its mixture of semaphore signals, original station buildings and manually operated crossing gates. Our journey along this route will be on board one of English, Welsh and Scottish Railway's civil engineers trains, the 7T56 trip from Hoo Junction to the spent materials receiving point at East Peckham. You would probably call it a tip. After Rochester, the line follows the course of the River Medway for all but the last 2.5 miles. Apart from the sprawling town of Maidstone, the route is mostly rural, winding its way across the North Downs. The train travels the entire length of the Medway Valley line, as there's no access to East Peckham from the north, which means the locomotive has to run round at Paddock Wood. The outward journey is 29 miles. Although the book's motive power for this daily working is a pair of Class 73s, our train today is in the hands of 33030, a nostalgic reminder of the old order on civil engineers' duties in Kent. And for good measure, we've wired the old girl for sound, so we can relish her roar and rasp through the Kent countryside. At our book departure time of 11:40, Dartford signal box gives us the road for the North Kent main line from the country end of Hoo Junction Yard. At the time of this journey, September the 18th, 1996, there were only 8 Cromptons left in traffic. Originally, they were expected to be withdrawn by the end of that year, but thanks to EWS's success in winning extra freight business, the Cromptons enjoyed an extended lease of life until the following summer. By the way, do not adjust your set. The horizontal line across your screen is the heated windscreen demisting element. Today's driver is Kevin Weeks, who's based at Hoo Junction. The trip to East Peckham is rostered as a straight out and back turn for a Hoo driver and trainman, and is one of the more sociable shifts. After passing through the platforms of Hyam Station, we approached the 1,531-yard tunnel of the same name. A short gap separates Hyam Tunnel from the even longer Strood Tunnel. As we emerge from the darkness, we take a sharp right-hand turn on the approach to the station. This seems like a good moment to take a look at the unusual consist of today's train. The trailing load of 556 tonnes comprises 16 ZBA Rudd wagons, carrying a consignment of concrete sleepers. And yes, they do look rather new, and that's because they are. During the night of September the 14th, one of the wagons in the Wembley to Dollans Moor Connect Rail service became derailed at Staplehurst between Tunbridge and Ashford. It tore up 2.5 miles of virtually brand new track, causing immense disruption to this key Channel Tunnel route. To our left is the site of the original Strood station, a terminus until the line was extended in 1858. Still visible in the undergrowth are the remains of the station's sidings and former goods yard. Plans to use these sidings as a domestic refuse terminal have so far failed to materialise. This curve has a maximum line speed of 15 miles per hour on the approach to the platforms. The signalling here comes under the control of Dartford. Ahead, the route to Maidstone is protected by a red aspect. Crossing the bridge in front of us is a London-bound unit on the former London, Chatham and Dover Railway. To the left is Rochester, to the right Swanley. This line is known locally by drivers as the Toomer Loop. The tracks veering away to our left join this route at Rochester. Straight ahead is the Medway Valley line to Maidstone and Paddock Wood. Although the route passes right through the North Downs, there are virtually no gradients, the line rising just 40 feet in 20 miles. Our train is unable to take advantage of the 70 miles per hour line speed. As it's classified as a Class 7 freight, it's restricted to a maximum of 45. On the outskirts of Cuxton, there's another signal check as we're following a Maidstone-bound passenger service. Here we meet the first of the semaphores, which dominate the route. And as you'll see, they come in all shapes and sizes. Like many of the stations along the Medway Valley, the platforms still retain their quaint period buildings. Here, the crossing gates are manually operated by Cuxton Box on the left. The first part of the outward run proves to be a bit of a stagger, so we're just giving you the highlights. But don't panic, you'll see the bits we've cut out on the return run with the empties. The first chance the Crompton gets to show its pulling power comes just after Snodland. Cue the thrash. With the maximum permitted speed reached, power is shut off just before New Hythe. A mile and a half further south, we slow for the right-hand curve at Aylesford Village. The crossing is on a blind spot, so the approaching speed limit is 40 miles per hour. Although on most occasions, today being no exception, trains are checked at the previous signal. After clearing the crossing, it's time for driver Weeks to blow out some more cobwebs. The bridge ahead carries the M20 motorway. That's followed on the right by the Allington Stone terminal of ARC. We fast forward 3.5 miles to pick up the journey on the approach to East Farley, the first station south of Maidstone. Most of the stations along this route have staggered platforms, but this one is unique in having the up and down platforms separated by a public road. At this point we catch a glimpse of the River Medway through the trees on the left. From here it's a leisurely stroll as our Crompton cruises through the North Downs. This is Wateringbury. Next up is Yalding, where a speed limit of 20 is enforced for freight trains on the approach to the level crossing at the south end of the platform. After that, it's full speed again, comparatively speaking. Ahead on the right is our destination, East Peckham Tip. But as you can see now, there's no way in from the north. Half a mile further on, we'll cross the River Medway as its course veers off towards Tunbridge. We continue south as far as Paddock Wood, where our Crompton runs into the bi-directional platform 2. Here it will run round the train before returning north to East Peckham. The crew have to carry out the run round quickly and efficiently, as this stretch of track is a key Channel Tunnel route. The 0518 early morning trip to East Peckham, for example, continues to Tunbridge to run round to avoid occupying valuable rush hour track space at Paddock Wood. At lunchtime, however, it's rather quieter, and Crompton 30 is able to perform the manoeuvre in a convenient gap between the Eurostars and the EMU services. After some quick coupling by trainman Simon Phillips, we're off again, the entire operation having taken less than 15 minutes. On the departure from Paddock Wood, we pass Keelan Sidings on the left. They serve the Whirlpool warehouse. This customer receives a daily RFD train from Wembley, conveying imported white goods from Italy. The sidings here are also used to accumulate empty wagons for Aylesford newsprint before their trip to the company's sidings at Brookgate. Once we've negotiated the 25 miles per hour curve out of Paddock Wood, driver Weeks will apply one final burst of power for the remaining 2 miles to East Peckham. Power is shut off as we approach the platforms of Beltring, by far the least interesting of the stations along the Medway Valley. Even its platforms are adjacent. How common. Driver Weeks supplies the brakes as we approach East Peckham siding. Here, trainman Phillips climbs down from the rear cab to operate the ground frame. The train then runs forward to clear the points before reversing. When the last wagon has cleared the points, the driver looks back for a hand signal from the trainman. Access to the ground frame at East Peckham is controlled by the signal box at Wateringbury. Once the points are changed, Crompton 30 can reverse its train into the siding. East Peckham can accommodate a maximum of 34 SLUs, standard length units of 21 feet, giving a maximum train length of 714 feet. That's roughly the length of our train today, so there's no margin for error in the reversal. Unloading of the wagons can best be described as basic, with two trusty caterpillars simply raking out the contents onto the ground. This is the railway's equivalent of going to the local dump, so no one worries about anything getting broken. The tip is operated by J Club Limited for the disposal of permanent way material, mainly spent ballast, much of which is recycled and sold on to the preserved railways. A second siding here is used to stable any wagons which may have been crippled in transit. Unloading takes around 90 minutes. And as no one wants to risk a hernia from closing those heavy wagon doors, the Caterpillar gives them a groin-saving nudge. After satisfying himself that all the wagons are fit to make the return journey to Hoo, trainman Phillips contacts the Water-in-Bury signalman and asks him to release the points. Another call to the box resets the points once the last wagon has cleared the siding. The operation at East Peckham is all but complete. After locking the ground frame, all that remains is to wait for the trainman to rejoin the locomotive. Just before Yalding Station, we slow to 20 for the automatic crossing. The flashing white lights indicate that the barriers are down and it's safe to proceed. At Water-in-Bury, you'll find the full set of railway memorabilia. Original buildings, staggered platforms, semaphore signals, and manually operated crossing gates. Only 2 stations have suffered closure along this route. This is the site of the first, Teston Halt, which closed way back in November 1959. The River Medway comes into view again at the foot of the meadows on our right, as it winds its way towards the estuary at Gillingham. Coming into view is the signal protecting the crossing at the picturesque East Farley station. There's a speed limit of 40 on the sharply curved approach. We're now on the outskirts of Maidstone, where we pass the site of the former station at Towville, closed in 1943. All that remains now is the footbridge which once linked the 2 platforms. The tight curve is governed by a 30 mph speed limit. Coming up on our right is the route's most impressive signal box, built in 1865 by Evans O'Donnell. It's the only surviving structure of its kind in the country. Once equipped with 115 levers to control the goods yard, only 34 are still in use today. The goods yard itself is long gone, and in its place is that modern horror, the industrial estate. Although the station has a through road on the up line for freight traffic, there's a points failure today, so we take the up platform road. Since leaving Paddock Wood, we've been travelling on the down main line, but at Maidstone West, the down line becomes the up line, and vice versa. From here on, we're following another stopping passenger service, so we're checked by a single yellow aspect. Ahead is the 64-yard London Road Tunnel. Less than a mile further on is another station, Maidstone Barracks. This one is actually closer to the town centre and was originally built to connect with the London Chatham and Dover Railway, which will pass underneath at the second bridge. And now for some more semaphore action. Watch the signal on the left-hand wall of the bridge. This is electrically operated from Maidstone West Box. Trailing in from the left is the ARC siding at Allington, which receives Class 59 hauled aggregate trains from Watley Quarry in Somerset. After some brisk running, we've almost caught up the service train, so we're checked again on the approach to Aylesford Station. This was the last location on this route to have an operational goods yard. It was situated behind the down platform and closed to traffic in 1974. Coming into view on our left is the single largest industrial complex along the route, the Aylesford newsprint plant at Brookgate. Formerly known as the Reed Paper Mill, this is the largest producer of newsprint in the UK, with an output of 360,000 tonnes a year, all of it from recycled newspaper. Until 1993, the site received regular trainloads of coal from Nottinghamshire, before a new gas-fired plant came on stream. Since the opening of the Channel Tunnel, the company has been served by a fortnightly RFD service, which dispatches paper for export to Frankfurt in Germany. With a clear road ahead, our Crompton is ready for a spirited run up to New Hythe Station. We're slowed again on the approach to Snodland Station, another location full of Southern Railway character. With its rich vein of chalk, the area north of Snodland once had a number of cement works, all of them rail connected. Sadly, nearly all have now closed, like the Holborough Works, once situated behind the trees on our left. The only evidence today is the few remaining pieces of track on the connecting spur. Compared to other stations on the route, hauling is rather ordinary. Here, a rail connection to the nearby Hauling Manor cement works ran behind the down platform. To the north of the station is another disused rail connection which once served the Rugby cement plant. The works on the left is still operational, although the dispatch sidings on the right-hand side are disused. The hauling plant was the last in the Medway Valley to send its cement by rail. Traffic ceased in the early 1990s. We passed the last of the semaphore signals at Cuxton. The remains of the up-electrified loop can be seen on the left. Dominating the skyline ahead is the bridge carrying the M2 motorway over the River Medway. A mile and a half further on, we're brought to a stand outside Strood to wait for a path onto the busy North Kent line. As we pass under the Ashford to Swanley line, the tracks connecting with this route at Rochester will swing in from the right. There's no rush. There's a 15 mph speed restriction immediately after the station. Ahead once again is the 1 mile 569 yard Strood Tunnel. This and Hyam Tunnel were originally built to carry a canal under the Chalk Hill. This was later filled in and replaced by a track bed for the railway. Both tunnels remain unlined to this day. With a clear road ahead, it's time for the Crompton to put our microphones to the test again. So here it is. A serious thrash. A mile after Hyam Station, we're back at Hoo Junction again, where 58045 awaits departure on the afternoon trip to the Isle of Grain. The sidings have their own station, Hoo Junction Staff Halt, which, along with Wimbledon Staff Halt, boasts the shortest platforms on the Southern. Swinging in from the right is the busy single-track freight branch to Grain. The signal box at Dartford, which controls the main line here, has decided to route our train into the London end of the yard. This will mean a reversal onto the spur merging in from the left, over what are known locally as the 420 points. At the time of this journey, the Cromptons were still clinging on to civil engineers' duties at Hoo Junction, despite the influx of Class 37s to the area. Their replacements proved far less popular, lacking the good all-round vision and dual controls of the 33s. For Crompton 30, it was a case of changing fortunes. In February 1997, the locomotive was promoted to a rail tour standby machine, ready to deputise for the two dedicated locomotives, 51 and 116. But after its first tour outing at the end of April on Detour's classic Crompton, number 30 suffered a traction motor flashover. It received a new motor and was still in traffic at the end of May 1997, although the end couldn't have been far away. By the time you watch this programme, the Cromptons may have been mown down altogether. This has been a small reminder of their years out of grass in the Garden of England.